everybody, and welcome to the iCar Tech Center. We're here today to talk a little bit about glue pull repair, GPR, and some of the benefits of glue pull repair to the collision industry. So we'll start with introductions of the people that are joining us here today. So to my left we have...
Yeah, my name is Dirk. I'm the Director of Program and Services here at iCar, and honestly I'm super excited being here, and I'm always impressed what you can do with glue pull repairing, and it will be, I think we have a lot of things prepared for you guys and it will be fun. So, but
Agreed.
I'm
Agreed.
excited.
Well, I am Bud Center, Director of Technical Products and Curriculum here at iCar, and to my right we have...
Chris White. I'm president of Keco Body Repair, but my real title is I'm working to bring glue pull repair to the collision industry, and I couldn't be more excited to be here with you guys, and gosh, it's we're extremely passionate about what we're doing, for sure. So.
And I'm Jeff Poole. I'm the manager of the subject matter expert team here at the Tech Center. Work with the curriculum development team on all of the content in the courses and other services we offer.
Perfect. So I'll start this out with a simple question first, Chris. What is GPR?
Okay. GPR stands for glue pull repair, and glue pull repair is a non-invasive dent repair process that utilizes large surface area plastic tabs adhered to the panel by specialized adhesives, and you're able to pull with typical lifting devices, then pull the damage and knock the damage down. So it is, the key to the definition is really the fact that it's so non-invasive, and the fact that we're using large surface area to exert much more control and finesse over the dents. So.
Perfect. Jeff, what do you think are some of the advantages of glue pull repair for a collision tech?
Being a conventional body repairman and working metal with the conventional tools, so much of what we do is, I'll use the word aggressive, towards the panels on the vehicle. And as I look at this process, where we're not affecting the coatings, we're not damaging the coatings on the backside of the panel, and ultimately that's a huge win whenever we're looking at dealing with these repairs, especially with let's face it, the materials, the panel thicknesses being so much thinner than they've been in the past, and the critical aspects of corrosion protection and things like that.
Perfect. All right, well, let's go ahead and throw this out to the shop, to TJ and Gene, and take a look at some repairs in process.
Hey, thanks guys, we appreciate it. So we're back here today with TJ, and we're going to do some glue pull repairs. We're going to start it off with a steel repair on a wheel lip of a Buick Cascada. Got a pretty good shot. So why don't we come on over and take a look at the damage and really talk about the difference between a conventional repair and what we hope to do with a glue pull repair.
Sounds good, Gene. So I do see the dent right here on the body line of the quarter panel. Now I know that I want to attack this by removing the paint from this area, being a conventional technician myself, feather it out, probably have some sand scratches, so my primer is going to be about that big, which is going to leave the blend area for the refinish team to about that big. So what are some of the advantages of using the GPR system to help me be more efficient?
Sure, so one of the first things we really noticed was, like you said, you come in and the first thing you're going to do is remove paint. So essentially you're creating damage to repair damage. Our first move is to reduce the size of the damage. So everything we have in the system, glue pull repair as a whole, is made to respect the paint on both sides of the panel. So our first is do no harm. We want to make the dent smaller. Besides efficiency though, we have a couple of things that really helps glue pull repair shine. And that is, first and foremost, no damage to the backside of the panel. So conventionally, you're going to grind it off and you're going to stud weld. That creates potential issues for corrosion. Now we have okay access here, but we also have some foam hiding down in here, which now in that scenario could become a safety issue, right? We've all heard horror stories of panel being welded or stud welded on and the foam catching on fire, and that's a bad day.
I may experience that myself in the past.
I see. So with glue pull repair, we are essentially a cold repair the whole time. Even our hot melt adhesive, we're talking 350 degrees, so well below that. That seems to be 400 degrees is the mark. We're well below there. And really, even with that, by the time we get to the panel, we're down into the 200 degree range before it gets there. So we're going to shrink your repair. We're going to leave the paint on the car. We're going to leave more paint on the car. No worries about corrosion and no chance of fire starting inside of the panel. So those are some of our advantages. Now, let's come on over here, and I want to talk a little bit about the process, and that's really what it comes down to. So with glue pull repair as a whole, it comes down so much to following the process. When we can follow the process, we can get strong, effective pulls every single time, right? We can go to a trade show. I can be at SEMA for days and do pull after pull after pull without a single failed pull. And that's because we follow the system. So in here, we call it the 6 C's. And I'll tell you that this card I'm handing you here, when we do tech support, I still have yet to have a tech support call I can't solve with the card. If there's a problem, we just go back and I figure out which step you missed in the process, and we go back and make it right.
Excellent.
So
That'd help a technician like myself.
Exactly. And you're pretty new to glue pull repair here. So the way we're going to work today is I want to talk about the process and sort of prep you through here and go over everything before we're live on the repair when timing becomes an issue. So I'm going to walk you through and coach you through it. And then when we go live into the repair, doing the actual repair process, I'll go ahead and coach you through each step and show you just how walking through the 6 C's makes it happen.
Excellent.
Right? So the first step is clean. We want to have a clean panel. Most of the time, all we need is a 99% isopropyl alcohol here. If the paint had transfer or some scratches, scrapes, or maybe even looks like it just came out of the detail shop and maybe it is a ceramic coating, we would maybe there start with just a good aggressive rubbing compound. So the whole process, or the whole idea behind that is to just get down to bare clear coat. As soon as we're down to bare clear coat, we're good. And our last step of cleaning is always the 99% isopropyl alcohol. We never want to use anything petroleum-based, no acetones, no thinner. Plastic is petroleum-based. It can attack the tabs. Keep it out of the mix, for sure. Our next C, or the next C in the steps, is check. So probably the biggest or the most overlooked thing in a successful glue pull repair is temperature. We want to work in between 75 and 85 degrees. Now, I promise by the end of this video, these guys are going to be tired of me cueing them on what the temperature is, but it is just absolutely so important to stay inside of that temperature range. So what is it?
75 to 85 degrees.
Perfect. Now, on the first heat on any panel, we also want to address and make sure that there's no humidity in the clear coat. So clear coat is porous, and it will pull humidity out of the air. If we don't evaporate that, when we come in with our hot glue and we go to the panel, we could actually end up with a layer of water in between the glue and the clear coat. That's not going to be good for adhesion. So on our first heat, we want to heat to 120 degrees Fahrenheit.
Okay.
One time, that's it. That'll cover you on everything except for the most hot, humid, thunderstorm-filled summer days.
Luckily, we don't have that today.
Good, yes, and we're in a great controlled environment. But we are constantly going to be checking our temperature the whole entire time. Our next step is choose. So there's a couple things to choose here. We want to choose what kind of glue we're going to use. We've, in our system, simplified that down to 2 glues. We've got a collision glue, which in the collision space, I would say 99% of the time, that's what you're going to use. We also have a gray, which is a fast set glue. Think hailstorm, and you've got a unicide that is in for conventional repair, not paintless. If we can save you 20 seconds a pull, and you've got 50 dents to fix with multiple pulls, that's where that speed comes into play. Also, if you're in an uncontrolled environment and we go above 85 degrees Fahrenheit, we want to switch to the high temp glue. That will actually work more like the collision glue on those hot days. So very simple to choose that. Then our lifting device, we've got a few to choose from here. So we've got bridge systems. So this is our K-beam and the K-beam Junior, a simple bridge, right? 2 points of contact with a lifter in the middle, a thread that pulls it up. down to our K-bar, which is probably where I'm going to lead you on this repair over here. A simple leverage tool. It's nice and fast and easy to set up with plenty of power. Think of it a lot like your hustle stick or your pogo stick, right? The only limitation on this is your amount of leverage and how hard you can pull. Into, of course, slide hammer, right? Probably where right after beat it out with a hammer, the next tool to be born was a slide hammer. Simple movement there. Down to where it sort of all started for us, and that is the robo lifter or the mini lifter. Very small, easy to control. We're able to work up the dent nice and easy. As we come closer to finishing this dent, we'll be moving to something like this. We also have some different feet that we'll talk about today where we can actually turn this tool into a couple of different tools. And now we're sort of on to choosing our tab.
Looks like you have a good assortment. What are the differences you have here?
So first, shapes and sizes. So across the board, we have from 15 square inches down to 5 millimeters and everything in between. What we want to do there is we're trying to find a tab that matches our damage, or if we're trying to restore a body line, a tab that is shaped like the body line. So now with that, while we're talking about tabs, it's probably a good opportunity to talk about the different materials we have. So we have two different materials here. We have the translucent or the ice material, and we also have the original blue material. There we go, perfect. So the ice material pulls actually about 25% stronger than the original blue, but it has a downside. So if I take this, it will flex in one direction wherever we want it to go. It'll get down into a dent plenty deep. However, if we get any kind of complex shape, if we try to twist it, it just wants to fight back to flat. Cars are complex shapes, right? We've got complex curves all over the place. This will make the tab actually want to shear away. Whereas with the original blue here, we get that same flexibility this way, right? But to conform to anything, it doesn't. In fact, it even wants to sort of hold that shape. So in essence, what we're doing, if we decide on a complex dent to go with the original blue, the more flexible material, is we're giving up a little bit of pulling power, but for more staying power. Having that flexibility where it will come up and work with the dent as it comes up, that lets us stay on the panel longer. So deeper, more complex dents, we want to go with a flexible material. As we begin to shallow out, we can go to a more rigid material where we don't need that complex bend. Does that make sense?
It does, yes.
Perfect. And then last but not least, as we're in the repair process, is you're going to need to knock your highs down. So if there is an impact, there's displaced metal somewhere, whether it's a large crown or something subtle. We sort of want to take whatever knockdown device matches the type of damage we're trying to knock down. So if we've got a tight little high spot, we don't need to come in here with a big dinging spoon that's going to spread the hammer blow out. We'll come in here with something smaller, like our Black Swan. And this has all kinds of interchangeable tips. And again, as we move through this repair, you'll really get to see quite a few. So with that being said, without spending hours talking about the products here for sure, give you a good overview, I think it's time to come over here and we're going to talk through the repair first. Then we'll come over and pick everything, and then we'll go ahead and fix it. Okay. So let's come back over here to the dent. Now, in our C's, right, we were at clean, check, and choose. So we're talking about tools. Now we sort of need to choose where and how we're going to fix the dent. Now, this does bring me to one of the few fundamental changes I've found between glue pull repair and conventional auto body repair or even paintless repair like I do, and that is in dealing with the body line. So we don't always want to go to the deepest part. If there's something stronger in the panel, we want to address that first. So in here, we've got a body line right through the middle of the dent. That is what we want to bring up. If you were going to come in with your stud welder, or I were going to come in with push tools and bring that up, we would want to attack the body line directly, right? So part of the magic with glue pull repair and I'm going to use this is way oversized for what we're going to do. Part of the magic with glue pull repair is our surface area. What we found is if we take, and sort of oversized here, if we cover that body line up, we've got plenty of pulling power. It will pull the dent up, but what can happen is that surface area will actually hold the body line itself down. So we might get this whole big thing to move and create a tight little pinch right there. The fundamental change is, instead of directly on the body line, we go right next to it. And then with that being said, that means we have to make a choice on which side. So based on, I told you we want to put strength back in and stronger, what side of this do you think we might want to go on?
Probably on this side where it's a little bit shorter and closer to the edge of the panel.
Exactly, and that's exactly why. Given that this dent is fairly evenly spaced on both sides of the body line, all things being equal, we want to go to the, or most things being equal, we want to go to the stronger side of the body line. So you are absolutely spot on there. And now our body line is curved. So if we want a tab shaped like what we're trying to put back in, when we come back over to the cart, you're going to look for one of our curved tabs to see what we can fit in there. I do want to take a side note here real quick. We're not going to see it on this repair, but I do want to talk about it because we're talking collision, and in collision things get hit hard. If there is something structurally damaged in the repair, like in this case, let's say it were hit a little bit harder and this wheel well were pushed in, you would want to address the structure part of this first. We sort of call it like squaring up the panel, and that may not be with glue pull repair. If this were pushed in here, the first pull, the first move may be a body hook of some sort to straighten this edge up. So restore your structure to the panel, then strongest, then deepest. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Good deal. And then moving into coat, in fact, we'll do a little side note here. If I can get a tight shot of coating a tab, it's a mistake that I see guys make all the time. And that is, let's get on camera here. So we want to fill the tab completely with glue. And when we say that, guys or technicians seem to want to try to fill the whole thing up with their gun. So they'll start doing lines of glue like this, or even up and down the tab here. What that does is actually leaves room for air pockets. Very simple to fill up the tab. We simply want to come to the end of the tab, go right in the middle, and get a nice bead, just like that, and run up the entire tab. Side note, if you're going to miss with the glue, put too much on. The only thing that will hurt is slow your dry time down just a hair.
Okay.
Okay? So not back and forth, but just a great bead right down the middle, just like that. And then our next C is correct. And that is simply correcting the damage. So bringing the lows up and knocking the highs down. Now there are times where we can do what we call a double action move. And that is we're actually bringing the low up and holding some tension. And while we're doing that, we're able to affect the highs or the crowns and knock them down at the same time. Anytime you can get metal moving two directions at the same time, just magic happens. So it's bring the lows up, knock the highs down. And then we're down to our last C, which is continue. And that is continuing the repair process to wherever you want to be. So if we make one pull and you say, hey, we're ready for body filler and you're out, you're done with glue pull. If you say, or if I say, hey, I'm going to take this thing all the way to paintless, we just go right back to the top, clean, check, choose, coat, correct, continue, on through as far as we want to take the repair. So any questions on the process here? We sort of got you walked all through it.
Yeah, no questions yet, except for maybe which tab am I going to choose to glue onto this panel?
Sure. So remember we were talking about a tab shaped like your body line. We've decided that we need to attack the body line. So we're going to want a curved tab that goes there. Why don't you come on over and look at the tabs so we're not fumbling through, and see if you can pick a few out, and we'll come over and do a test fit and see what you think. So we've got curved and straight and flexible and rigid.
Here's some curved ones right here, I see.
Oh, perfect. Perfect. So let's go over and let's take a look and just see how they line up on the panel. So you see that curve actually matches the radius right around this wheel well incredibly well.
This one does look kind of large.
Yes.
besides the middle pulling point here, is there an advantage to either one of these?
So yes, so these are both the same width, 10 millimeters, I believe. The difference here, let me see if I can show the camera, is going to be surface area. So we've got all of these teeth or pins. Essentially, we can slide an adapter on here and pull a larger surface area with the tab. Whereas with the same tab here, it's going to pull the whole face, but it's going to concentrate the pull more into the center of the tab. So we can use the tab to sort of pull the shape we want to pull. I'm going to push you towards this one on the first pull. I think that's going to give us our best move right through the middle there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right, so here's that. We'll move these out of the way. And we'll get you a new stick. We're not quite ready yet. We got to stop. We're going to start at the top and follow our process. Right?
Which
I
would
almost
be
caught you.
the first C,
The first C, which is
clean.
correct. Yes, you're right. So we're going to come in with some 99% alcohol. I don't really see anything on the panel that would make me feel like we need to polish it out. It didn't feel extra slippery or anything. So clean. What's our next step?
Check.
So we're going to check a couple of things, and I slipped up in talking through it. First thing we want to do is check our temperature of the panel. And where do we want to be?
Between 75 and 85 degrees.
Correct. And where are we at?
72.5.
72. So we're a tick cold. Now, if you remember, I also said on the first heat, there's a number we need to go for to get rid of that humidity. Do you remember what that is?
120.
Yes. Now, before we start, and we sort of alluded to this, we want to know what type of material we're working on.
We do know that this is steel.
So it is steel. So that is another part of the check process, is what type of material. So it is steel. We're going to do aluminum a little bit later today, but on the steel process, I just want everybody to know that this is a steel panel, and we know that going into the repair. So we've got it clean. We've checked it. We need to heat to 120. So you've got your infrared gun. We just need to heat right where we're going to work. So just like that.
There we go.
120. Now also, I like to take the heat gun and just take the chill off of our tabs. So our tabs are room temperature as well. It doesn't need to be even 85 degrees. Just warm it up and take the chill off. So we'll clean, we checked, and we've chosen that we're going to use our flexible tab with a curve shaped like the body line. We're going to use collision glue. So you're close on that stick. I'll probably feed you in here in just a second. So now hold that perfectly flat, and then one end to the other, probably about a 1/4 inch bead right down the middle. Now the glue, we also want the temperature right. So I've got this set to between 190 and 200 degrees Celsius. That is smoking hot, so go ahead and get that on here. I want to go right up to the tab, and you want to set it down just like you're setting a tile on the floor. There we go. Good deal. Now just hold that there for 15 seconds. Because that glue comes out so hot and viscous, if you just go right to it and then turn around, it will actually just let it slip down. So you should be good there. Now while that's setting up, and our setup time on that tab should be around a minute or so.
Okay.
Let's come on over and grab your lifting device. So I think I sort of already coached you along
Yep,
to the
I think
K-bar.
the K-bar is what we're going to
Yep.
use.
And then we're going to need an adapter. So the adapter is what grabs onto the tab.
Okay.
So let's try this. So test fit that one on, and you want to always pull in the center of the tab. Yep, I think that's going to be great. So our dent is about, like the deepest part is about here. That adapter is going to be perfect. So go ahead and set that on your K-bar. Just use the thumb screw to lock it in place. Now our dry time might be just a tick longer because this is the first pull or the first heat. So you're coming down from that 120 degrees. Before we start setting it up, go ahead and hit it with your temp gun and see where our temperature's at. And where do we want to be?
Between 75 and 85.
Yes, and where are we at?
94.
94. So we're getting close. It's coming down. We're not quite there yet. That is, however, firm enough that you can start setting it up. So you can dial in. Your leverage point's going to be the tire. There we go. So is that good, or do we want to slide this down just a hair so you can loosen this knob and get that wherever you want it to be? So like there. There
go.
Go ahead and slide that off and check your temperature again. You should be really close and about ready to go. 89, 90, we're really getting there. So I'm gonna get in here so we can really get that distortion showing up on camera for you so you can see this move. Yeah, there it is, right there. 87, 88, so you're 86, we're good. You go ahead and set up. So slide on. Now, I know a lot of body techs tend to be a little bit more aggressive. You've got a lot of pulling power here. Just ease into this nice and slow. I'd rather see you make 2 or 3 pulls than one overly aggressive pull. So go ahead and start to add a little bit of tension. See how that's moving already? You want to pull out as straight out as you can and move to your left just a hair. All right, move your adapter to the left. Left a little bit more. There we go. I'm getting a little bit of separation, but that's okay. How's the dent looking? So really take a line of sight down the edge and see how much we've shrunk the dent.
I think it's about half as big as it was before.
All right. Do you think so? We've not over pulled yet. That's what we don't want to do. So you can go ahead and pull a little bit more. And I can see the glue is coming loose a hair, but you're pulling awful hard. That's okay. You were actually, I don't know if the camera could see that or not. You were pulling hard enough that you were actually compressing the suspension of the car when you were coming down. So we released. Now our release agent for the glue is the exact same isopropyl alcohol that we use to prep the panel with. So that's plenty, and then just grab the edge and it'll peel right off for you. So what I want you to notice, so we got a good pull. I don't know that it was 100% as strong a pull as possible. The way that glue came off, it wanted to crack and break away a little bit. I think on that upper left side, we actually got a little bit cool. So a good, effective pull, not quite maximum. If we're gonna get nitpicky about the pull, we may have wanted to pull just a hair sooner, or it was heated a little bit unevenly. But how does that look to you over there?
Pretty good already.
Pretty good already. Good. How's our body line back up? I want to sneak in here and take a look. So it looks like, from what I can see, our body line is pretty well restored for the most part.
Yeah, I bet if I started feathering that, it'd be about ready for glaze.
Perfect. So what we do is to continue the repair process on, right, the 6 C's. So we did all of that, and then we made a correction, and the correction here was we brought the low up. It seemed like the crown sort of walked right into where the dent was. Now we go right back to the top if we want to continue this and go a little bit further. All right, so now, right, you made that first pull. It really shrunk the dent, probably 50% or better. Mm-hmm. We restored the body line, and now in looking, we want to attack that low spot above the body line. So we want something shaped like the body line. We're still working on that strong area, but we can make it for a smaller tab. So looking through, I actually want to point you right back to one of the tabs you grabbed out of the gate mm-hmm. that you thought might be a good fit. So what this is one of our dead center tabs. So what makes these a little different is on your original tab, you had a big spine like this on the back, which pulls the whole face up. The dead center, we've been able to take and make the spine of the tab thinner, and that allows the face to actually flex up. So we're gonna cheat a little bit, and I told you we can't go on body lines. With this, because it's so small, we actually can get right up on it, maybe even on the body line and get it. But what this does is, as this pulls up, it lets the tab face flex up and pull just on that spine. So I'm not gonna make you dig through everything. I'm gonna point you right to this tab. So here you are.
Well, let's give that a try.
All right. So now, just like I said, we are gonna start right at the top and work our way down through.
About 73, is that still good enough?
What numbers are we supposed to be between?
75 and 85.
Correct. So we're going to go ahead and warm it up. And just anything above 85 is fine. So we can warm up beyond, and then that'll actually give us time to talk and let it cool down. So where are you at there?
90.
90? Yep, that's great. Now also take the chill off of your tab. Good. Now I am going to force you to clean the panel one more time, but in theory, when we released the glue and wiped it down, that was a clean. But to really drive home just how important this process is, I want you to clean the panel off.
Is it important to clean the tab at all?
If you've got a lot of residue, yes. These tabs are essentially brand new, not such a big deal. What you do want to do is when you clean it with alcohol, make sure all of the alcohol is evaporated away before you put that glue on, or it's essentially trying to release itself right away. Same thing, we want to coat edge to edge. If you're going to mess with the glue, use too much. All that does is slow you down a little bit. Now, because this glue is so hot, you're a little thin here and here. Go ahead and put a little bit more. Watch you get a little drip coming down once you get your finger warm. Yep. Just glue right in the middle and it'll all squeeze out when we go to the tab. Perfect. And now with the dead center, we can come a little closer. So I want you to go on the top, curve that way, and you can bring that spine almost down right to the body line. Go, and we're going to set it just like we're in a bed of mortar. We'll hold that in place. Same thing, we'll hold this in place for maybe 15 or 20 seconds just to let the glue begin to set up. Now, while it's doing that, a question we get is, if we get a tight shot here, how do we know when the glue is ready? So it goes through a couple stages. In the beginning, it's sort of stringy like that. If it's stringy, that is way too hot, and we want to make sure that we don't pull yet. The next phase, see how it's beginning to milk up a little bit here? And you can't see that on the gray glue, but on the collision glue you can. It will stop being sticky, but we can move it around. See how we can sort of move the glue?
Yep.
Once we can't move it anymore, and it sort of just springs back and gets nice and firm, that's how we know we're ready to pull.
Okay.
Now with your lifter, I don't know that we need to use this big lifting device. You can, but because our dent is smaller now, we can move to a smaller lifter. So what I would say is maybe let's take a look and see how this is going to fit on there. So you're not quite ready to pull yet, we're still too hot, but see how that's going to fit. So that's our robo lifter. You're able to slide on. Those feet are on a ball and socket, so these will move right around and sit down in there. And then this just takes your slack out here, like that. Now, if you really want to concentrate the pull, we can actually switch your feet, because we've got enough room, to our crease feet here. I think this might be a little better play. So we can take these and get that same move on that same lifter and hold the metal down completely around there. So it's just a ball and socket, so just twist and pop it right out. There you go. Yep. Now you'll notice there's a wide side and a narrow side on here. We want this wider side out. That'll leave us a little bit more room. Yep, and just pop it straight on. Same thing with that one. Yep, good. Now go ahead and get dialed in there. And with that ball and socket, you notice how they just conform right to the panel and let us hold everything in. Take this, take all of your slack out, so you're getting maximum leverage off your handle. Now slide that out of the way, give it a quick temperature check to see if we're good. My gut tells me we're good, but I want to make sure we're not pulling on a hot tab.
75.
Perfect. So now this is an incredibly strong lifting device. Even though it's small, it's concentrating all of your power right to the middle of that tab.
Going
You want to sort of
smaller
like
pulls.
massage it up a little bit and then slide it off and take a look around the tab. You see how that's flexing everything? Really a ton of power. Now, what you want to look for is looking down the panel with your reflection. You're looking for low distortion. If it still looks low next to the tab, we can still pull some more. If you don't see any more low, we want to stop pulling because we're just pulling a high spot at that point.
I think it looks good.
Good? Perfect. So now we can release. The easiest way to release is we say release under pressure. So go ahead and soak that with the alcohol. Yep. And then put your lifter back on and just hold some tension. We just need to let that alcohol get into the tab and it'll release right off. There we go. And then go ahead and peel your glue away. Now what I want you to notice is we did not pull that to release until we were ready to. You've got more power and control than you need. Here, we can get a little bit more alcohol in there and clean the rest of that. So your thumbnail works great for sort of just loosening that up. So see how much that brought that back? Mm-hmm. So I'm a paintless technician by trade. As a body tech, where are you at on this repair? What more does it need for you to be ready to move to your body repair?
Well, if I'm going to just hit this with a DA sander, glaze it, prime it, and then ship it off to paint.
So you're ready for a glaze coat. So if we just pause and think about that for a second, we took a dent that and show me on the panel how big that originally was. Your original dent was this big. Mm-hmm. Now we're down to what, and in just 2 pulls, a matter of, well, I don't think we've been working on this for more than 15 or 20 minutes.
And if I was more proficient with it, I think I could have done that a lot quicker.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you at this point are ready for a glaze coat. So let me just hop in for a second, and I just want to talk through the process of if we wanted to go further.
Okay.
So when we're teaching, we actually teach on a continuum. So a continuum is like progression through a process. Mm-hmm. So at the low left of our continuum would be like just rough in. So maybe your first pull with the big bar and the big tab would be on the rough in side of things. In fact, I think we were probably in body filler close to glaze after 1 pull. Moving forward, really with this system, you could go as far as paintless, and that just comes down to the technician's skill set, or more like a metal finish, if we're talking in body technician mm-hmm. terms. It's essentially the same process that we just did. We go right back to the top, and we just continue down, making smaller and smaller pulls. So if we were going to finish this out, we would attack this low here, and this low here, and it looks like I've got another low there, and just continue to shrink those down. We've readjust our body line. We could knock down that little bit of a ridge there, and certainly get it to call it a primable repair, mm-hmm. And potentially with the right technician at the helm, a complete paintless repair. So, any questions on what we did here, and what do you think? I think this is your first day experiencing glue pull repair.
First time,
what are your
and
thoughts?
I wish I had this at my disposal when I was a technician.
Awesome, great. Well, let's hand it back over to the guys at the news desk, and we're going to get set up and work on our aluminum repair. So back to the desk, and we'll see you guys in just a minute.
Well, I tell you, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's awesome.
You look at it now, and like TJ said, if you'd had that when you were out there and had it in the toolbox when some of us older guys were out there repairing these things, what it could have done for us then. Chris, what are some of the common mistakes that technicians make when they're using the glue pull repair system?
Yeah, the whole time I was thinking, thank God Jeff's not over there on the other end of that thing, or else, he would have ripped that thing completely inside out, and then, you can actually overstretch the metal with those plastic tabs. And so, that's the thing that the most common mistake is thinking that it's not going to be strong enough, and over pulling to the point where now you've got a high spot. It's much easier to do subsequent pulls to lift the lows than it is to turn it completely inside out and have to knock it back down. That knockdown work, that's more PDR skill set. Mm-hmm. So we preach really sneaking up on it and doing multiple pulls to get the lows, finesse them out rather than being too aggressive with it. So
have the patience.
That's right.
To slowly step into it versus I'm gonna give it my all.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, it's like I say, it's kind of like a go slow to go fast. Because that extra pull on the front end ends up yielding you a situation where you have a flatter panel faster. And again, one of the greatest advantages is, in the conventional repair, just use my hands. If you started and you were going to remove paint, you'd remove, say, this much paint. Well, with us, with glue pull repair, you're doing no harm, and so you go in and you make your pulls, and now when you get ready to add any kind of filler, now right. You've shrunk that repair. Maybe it's something like this, so that there's some efficiency.
Yeah, some situations you look at where, depending on where the damage is, you look at conventionally we're blending into adjacent. Is it possible to shrink that to a point where we can at least with the base coat or something like that, stay within the panel.
That's right. That's exactly what we're seeing with many of our customers. That's what they're telling us is an advantage of using the system. And it, you know, the level of what you can see just by, I mean, certainly you can see with the reflection of the LED light how like capable that is. You know how much you can see, but even just leaving the paint on. You know, I mean, once you take that paint off, I mean, you turn the lights out. I mean, you're
Yeah,
working. You are working in the dark. At
I'm
that
working
point.
by feel then.
Right, exactly.
Once I've broken that.
That's
and,
right. Yeah.
I lose that finesse to some degree, where
That's right.
I traditionally would go back to, I'm going to say, a body file or something to start to highlight the highs and lows.
That's right.
Something came up as a question for me, and it was really particular about temperature. Can you wait too long after you put the tab on?
Absolutely, you can. Yeah, you know, and there's actually a reading of the glue that happens after your pull. You know, when you look at that glue pad after you've pulled, if that glue pad has some fractures in it, and you know, that would tell you that probably it did get a little too cold. You know, because you want that glue to stay nice and flexible as you're able to make those pulls. Because again, you know, we want to try to achieve that. Those were too small to really get too much of what we call the double action, where we're knocking down and lifting. Now that second pull with those crease feet were actually pushing on the high spot while the tab was lifting, you know, and so, you know, when you have that double action happening, you can't let your glue get too cold because it'll certainly start to fracture and release. Also, you can pull too quickly, and when you pull too quickly, the glue pad will have, you know, kind of a hairy textury to it, you know, where you can see that it's kind of not completely set up. So
Chris, from a vehicle owner perspective, you know, let's say I'm in the shopping, have a shopping cart, go to my car, the shopping cart goes loose. This is a spot what a shopping cart would maybe damage. Here, this quarter panel. So I would be really mad about myself to create this and think like, oh God, now I have a huge repair to do this. So let's say I would say, hey, I give an hour for an PDR technician to do this, and the goal is not to paint it. For me, it would be as a consumer, I don't want you paint and produce all those costs, get it out as best as possible, and I would be fine with it. What I already have seen, this transition with those two poles, they were so tremendous for me. So I think there is a lot of advantage and a lot of possibility here for the industry to avoid those pains and making customer happy with those lower invasive approach.
right.
So when I see this and I now predict that to a hood or whatever, and you have those chipping marks on the hood from driving from an older vehicle, you know, stones and stuff flying all over the place. Is there any consideration where you say, okay, when I can do it, when I can't do it, maybe, you know, we glue against the paint, not that the paint gets ripped off and the damage is much, much larger. What you have to consider here when you inspect a hood and you see a little chip, how that goes, what do you have to know about it?
Yeah, it's small chips in the paint, you know, won't really affect. We've got enough surface area that it won't really affect the adhesion of the tab much at all. You know, but generally, if you had you know, a bare metal tab or bare metal panel, you're going to see maybe 50% of the pulling strength, and sometimes that's enough. But when you just have, you know, like scrapes in the paint, almost always, you know, that doesn't really, maybe a bit more will flake off when you pull, but you get plenty of pulling power to be able to get that, get the dent out, you know, and still use GPR. You know, just a few scrapes and chips in the paint don't really affect us at all. So.
Awesome.
Good. So before we go back to the guys on the repair side, they show us a little bit on the aluminum. What makes for a good GPR repair? You know, when we think about using glue pull, you know, are there things that they need to avoid? For example, intrusion beams and doors and things like that. How does that impact the decision on where we should use the glue pull and not use it. I mean, and this might be a question for Jeff, because we could sit and talk about this one for probably a couple of hours.
Yeah, that's an OE. That's an OE question, right? I mean,
Well,
we don't want to ever attack anything where an intrusion beam is damaged. But if the OE says that it's okay to perform a conventional repair in that area, we should be able to also do the glue pull repair in the same area.
Yeah, the deciding factor is what's damaged behind that panel.
Right.
And truly understanding the build of that vehicle and the relationship, how close that outer panel is to what's behind it, how far is it pushed in. There's absolutely going to be times where you're going to have to open that door up and look inside, or try to get eyes on I want to say the back side of the panel to some degree, or have access to the vehicle service information to see the profile views of the different areas of the vehicle. Many of the vehicle makers do have some very good, I'll call it the panel stack build profile views that really show you how close that rocker is to that inner reinforcement, or that A-pillar is to that reinforcement behind it.
Perfect. Thank you. That's the point I was driving at. So, all right. Well, let's go ahead and go back out now to Jason and Gene, and they're going to show us some GPR on an aluminum panel.
Hey, thanks again, guys. Perfect. So, Jason, I hope you were paying attention while I was coaching TJ through that last repair.
I think I was.
All right, good deal. Don't worry, I'll be here to coach you through it.
Sounds good.
So, a question we get all the time is, will glue pull repair work on aluminum? And the answer to that is absolutely 100% yes. It works spectacularly well on aluminum. So you can see we've got a pretty good dent here on the bedside of this F-150.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see how this is going to work, knowing that aluminum pulls so much harder than steel.
Yes, yeah, it's incredibly more difficult to work with. So let's come in close on the dent here, and let's sort of talk about what we've got. Obviously, a pretty good overall impact through the body line here. Nothing structural, right? If you remember talking about how we choose where to fix, there's nothing, and when I say structure, I don't mean safety structure, I mean the structure of the panel. This upper line is not bent in, and there's nothing coming down into the wheelhouse or anything. So then we're going to talk about and address coming back to deal with that body line. That's what we're going to bring up first, and then we've got what could be a secondary impact with some paint damage. Once we get this up and restore our body line, we're going to come back in and just see how good of a pull we can get over damaged paint, specifically because we're in a body shop and you guys don't always have the luxury of working on intact paint. Right. So we're going to show you what we can do there. Let's talk through it and walk through it and go through. And again, you're going to be tired of me talking about the 6 C's before we get done. What are your thoughts on the repair before we jump in? Where are you going to attack? What are you going to do and go from there?
Well, I remember from what you were telling TJ to not go right on the body line.
Correct.
Go right next to the body line.
Yes.
And so my plan of attack would be to go right next to the body line and would be on this top side because that's going to be the stronger part of the panel.
Exactly. Right. You
rather
were
than
paying
down
attention. That's good.
I tried.
You did good. You did good. Yes. So all things being relatively equal, yes, this dent crosses both sides. That upper side is the much stronger side. So that's where we want to pull. Now, talking about tabs and materials, one of the changes when we come to aluminum is because it's such a difficult metal to pull and move, when we actually need to over pull it. If you ever get a chance to watch a PDR technician push on an aluminum panel, the whole panel sort of pulls up or pushes up and then the dent moves. The exact same thing happens when we're trying to pull the metal out. So we always default to our flexible material. So it sort of takes the question of which material to use right away. Also, on all of our pulls on aluminum, we go straight to the collision glue. It's a stronger pull across the board. So we just take gray off the table. Even on smaller dents, we go right to the collision glue.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
Good deal. So let's come on over to the cart and see about what kind of tab you're thinking. Now we want a tab shaped like our body line. So we don't need a curved one.
No,
We're
straight.
going to need something straight and flexible, I think. Yeah, I think that would be a great one. So come on over here and let's maybe show the close-up camera what you're thinking. Yes.
Something
and
like
now
that?
that is exactly right. And see how you are right at the body line? That is perfect. When we say right next to the body line, come just like you are there, right up to that edge is where we want to be.
Cool.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Now, this is a bigger tab. It's a bigger dent. Before we jump into the process, what lifting device are you thinking here? Given that we've got a pretty good crown and we're sort of going to want an extra set of hands here.
Yeah, being aluminum and everything, with all that being tougher, and I know in the past I've actually had to have an extra technician come over and help hold things.
Okay. Did you build, like, yeah, it's, hey, come on, stop doing what you're doing, come help me.
Come help me for a couple minutes
Yeah.
and hold this. I saw a bridge fixture over here. I think that'd be
That is it.
the way
The
to
bridge,
go.
in this case, becomes our second technician. We don't have to borrow, we don't have to say, hey, TJ, get over here, right?
Yeah.
It's the two of us, or just you yourself can fix this. It becomes your second set of hands. Yes,
Yeah.
you're spot on there.
Cool.
Great. So let's jump into the repair and see what kind of move we can get.
All right.
Now, we've got the 6C card, so the first step is to,
Well, we've got to get it clean.
exactly. So we'll grab our 99% isopropyl and our towel. Same thing on this car. There's no, go ahead and clean. There's no transfer. It doesn't look like it just came out of the detail shop or anything. There's no reason to go to a rubbing compound. I'm certain that just the isopropyl alcohol will be more than sufficient to get us clean there. So clean, check. We know we're on an aluminum panel, so now we need to check our temperature.
74,
74. Now, where do we want to be?
75 to 85,
Exactly. And on the first heat, we need to.
120.
Correct. He was paying attention. Good deal. So let's take our heat gun and warm the area up to 120 degrees Fahrenheit. So what that's doing, again, just to sort of reiterate, that is getting rid of or evaporating away any moisture that might be stuck in the clear coat. We need to get rid of that so that when we come in with our hot glue, our hot melt adhesive, we don't get a layer of moisture in between the glue and the clear coat.
There we go, 120.
Perfect. And it's okay to go a little bit over, just don't stop short on that temperature. Now, one of the little nuances we found with aluminum is if we can take and get the tab a little bit warmer. Let's go ahead and warm that tab up. We don't need to check the temperature on it, but fairly hot. I would maybe call it 85 or 90 degrees. If we can heat everything up and let it all cool down together, we end up with a slightly better adhesion. And on aluminum, right, we can use all of the help that we can get. So now hold that tab nice and flat. Yep, and one end to the other. You want about a 3/8 inch bead, so come back out to the end. There you go. Just keep squeezing. So a good way to know that your glue is set to the right temperature, and I can't see it from here, you want it literally smoking hot. So we've got this gun set, yeah, there's a little bit of smoke, set to 190 to 200 degrees Celsius, around 350 to 370 degrees Fahrenheit. Essentially smoking hot, but not boiling. So let's come right on top of that body line. Yeah, there you go, and just hold it in place.
Now, how hard do I want to push down here?
So the way you want to set it down is, I liken it to setting a block in mortar or setting a tile down in mortar on a floor. You just want it in a nice bed. So we don't want to squish all of the glue away. We want to just set it in a nice bed of glue. It leaves enough for adhesion and flexibility, so you should be good to go there.
All right.
Now, while that's cooling off, and on this tab with that, we're probably 2 minutes is what it would be. That's going to be your beam, and then you're going to want to go with the largest adapter to get on there. So back here, so we're going to go with a 100 millimeter adapter. While you're setting that up, I'm going to talk a second about production. So today we're here, we're teaching, we're sort of going slow, even working with the Buick and TJ. He said, you know, man, if I was a little bit more familiar with this, it would have gone even faster. In a scenario like this, you can go ahead, take that off.
Put it back on
put
here
the adapter
first.
on there first. Yep. it is okay on more complex damage to set multiple tabs. So you're not waiting that 2 minutes to dry or anything. On this particular one, this is a single tab pull. But in a production environment, I've got plenty of pulls where I'll put 2 and 3 and 4 tabs. And by the time I'm done setting that third or fourth tab, I'm ready to come back and pull on the first one. So let's take, so we are nice and firm. You can go ahead and start adding a little bit of tension the other way. Now we're in nice and tight. So you guys can see, what I really want you to look at is you can see we've got the bottom of the crown here and distortion all the way up into here. Well, that was good.
We did.
It's going to move, that's for sure. So go ahead and continue to add a little bit of tension. That was the big move we were looking for.
Yeah.
Okay, now hold up 1 second. So if we can get a tight shot where you can see that distortion at the top here, what I want you guys to see is look at the distortion. So as we begin to add tension, see how it's pulling to the tab, in and out. You can see just how much power we have there. What we need to address or decide on is, are we up here? If we look, and I can't see from your side, if we look here, are we fighting any low at all on this side of the body line or above the tab, or are we pretty...
It's actually pretty close.
Pretty close, pretty flat? That's great. So how about crowning? We had a big, tight crown on the bottom. How's that looking?
Yeah, that's much better. In fact, it's almost completely gone. All that's left is this stretched area here.
Stretched, okay, perfect. And then of course we've got some up here. So we had our big move. There is no reason for us to continue to pull more on this, right? If we're pulling more, all we could potentially do is end up creating a high spot here that we're gonna have to address. We've got a great move up, we've got a great release. You've looked down here for your crowns, and we've got this separate low spot up here. Any more pulling here, it just creates more work for us. So the easiest way to get this off is hold a little bit of tension, grab your alcohol and just soak that tab down. Add a little bit more tension. We'll see if she'll release. It's on there pretty good, and if it won't release, we will come in and grab the edge with the robo. Yeah, she's holding on. There it goes. Perfect. So go ahead and peel your glue off. A little bit of residual glue. Go ahead and hose it down and wipe it down. And that's restored the rigidity back to the panel. Like, that thing is not going to cave back in simply from you touching it. It's not like it was just an easy out, right? We've restored.
No, it's good and solid.
Right, we've restored the body line. I call this like moving into divide and conquer. We started with this huge dent, this huge damaged area that went from here to here. We've pulled it up. We've restored the strength of the panel by restoring that body line. Now we essentially treat this like 2 separate areas. And actually this looks like 2 impact points. So we've got 3 impact points that we're going to address. So in the 6 C's, so we moved down and we were into correct. So correcting the lows and the highs. You've corrected a whole bunch of lows already. We go right back to the top, and then it will be clean again, but we can look at these lows. So let's talk about this here, right? If we can move this and we can move the dent that we fixed with TJ, I'm certain we can get here. A question we get a lot of times is, what happens if there is paint damage? Can you guys make your tab stick? Now I'll tell you, when we lose our shiny clear coat, we do lose a little bit of adhesion, but we can still get great adhesion. And with this tab I'm about to show you that's purpose built for moving aluminum, we're gonna get some extra surface area which would really hold us in the game. I think we're gonna be able to really concentrate a pretty strong pull here on that stretched area and get it up to, what would you be hoping for? Something fillerable, because of we don't want to over pull and stretch it. We just want to bring the belly up to where you could get to where you could put some filler in it.
Exactly. Right? Yeah, I look at that and I wouldn't expect to be able to get that, to PDR or metal finish.
No.
I would just be happy to get it enough out that I'd be comfortable putting filler on it.
Okay, perfect. So let's come on over here to the cart, and I want to show you a series of tabs that we call our dead center super tabs. And if you guys remember, I was talking about the dead center tabs with TJ and thinning out the spine. Well, we sort of have got the same thing here. We've thinned out the face of these tabs so it's nice and round. This is actually a 36 millimeter tab, so that 36 millimeters is this. What we're going to do is use all of this extra surface area to hold us on the panel, and it actually just concentrates our pull right here in the middle of the tab. So let's take a look through here and see what we want. In fact, this may be a decent size, but we'll bring the whole tray over. So come on over and let's just see how this matches up with our big low spot here. So what you need to sort of picture on this is the center of this tab as your effective pull area. So that might be a little big. Let's come down. Let's see what this 28 looks like. That might be a little better play. What do you think?
Yeah, let's try with that one
You
first.
good with that one?
Yeah.
All right, good deal. So I'll take this one. We'll put these back. And then, Jason, we're right back to the top. So let's get that panel clean. We already heated the area to 120, so we don't need to go to 120 again. But again, we do like to heat everything up a little extra on aluminum. So let's take it to 100 degrees and get the tab nice and warm as well. You sort of really don't even need to move around. You can almost leave it sit in the middle there and it'll heat up really quick.
Yeah, it's already at 100.
All right, perfect. And then a little tip, you can just warm that up. You can even set it on the floor if you want to go a little warmer and not burn your hands at all. That should be good. Let's go ahead.
All right.
So now your glue on this is going to
Yeah.
be right in the middle of the tab. Just keep squeezing, hold it nice and flat so it doesn't run on you. There you go. Keep going. Keep going. A little bit more. Again, remember, if we're going to miss with glue,
Too much.
too much is the way to go. There you go. You're ready. Now just pull that away. And you want to get that as centered as you can on that paint damage. And just hold that in place. A little bit of squeeze out. So that's all. So you were nice and heavy on the glue. If we're getting nitpicky, that was a little heavy, but that's good. Again, if we're going to miss with the glue, use too much. It's literally pennies in the cost of your pull here. But it's no wasted time because a tab that doesn't have enough glue will make for a bad pull. All right, good deal. So we're going to let that set up. So now we can talk about lifting device. So given that we've come down so small, really any lifter will likely get you where you need to be. And we don't need to address any crowns. My default would maybe go back to that robo lifter. So it's on the second shelf there. We're going to pop those crease feet off because we're not fixing a crease anymore. So just twist right across, it'll pop right out. And your other feet are right here. So we're going to see if that gets wide enough. If not, we'll go to a junior beam. I think you're going to be okay because really, even if the feet touch the edge of that tab, you're going to be okay. We're going to get rid of a little bit of this extra glue. The feet can actually hold that down because that face is so thin, it doesn't actually pull any metal up. All of the pull is right here.
Okay.
So if you can get those feet around there, even if it holds on, you're going to be okay. So let's see how that looks. Yep, and that's just a thread there. You might need to loosen that up a turn or two.
All right. There we go.
There we go. So now we want to let this cool down because that's so thick in the middle. Let's shoot your temp gun right there. Right, so you want to shoot it right into the corner. Yeah, 94. So we're going to let it cool down just a hair.
Yeah.
While that's cooling down, so we're not just standing around. Any questions on where we've gotten to so far?
No, but I really like the fact that I can do all this work with the paint still on the car
Yes.
because then I can see exactly what I'm doing.
Right. Well, so body guys always tell me that they don't need to see, they can feel. And I've got to tell you, body techs, I'm going to call you out on that one unless you've never pulled a car out of the booth and oh man, I didn't see that. You didn't see that because you can't see it because it was bare metal. So in teaching technicians all over the country, I've had a few call back and they're like, man, I feel like it might be a little faster, a little bit more efficient the old way. I feel like this is just too rough of a repair, you got to remember that you're not seeing the nuances that you see on clear coat when that metal is bare, right?
Right.
Leaving this on, besides leaving as much factory paint on the car as possible, you can see better. And there will be no surprises. What this looks like when it's flat is what it's going to look like, you know,
Yeah.
much further down the road. There's not going to be that surprise ding that you didn't feel, right? It's going to be gone and get it flat before you get into your glaze.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense to me, yeah.
Great. So we should be about ready to pull here. Go ahead and check it. And we can actually pull even a little bit warmer on.
And we're at 83.
Perfect. So we're 75 to 85.
Perfect.
We're in the game. Now, this is not a grip it and rip it, right? It's not yank. Like, zoom in here, and you'll really get to see this tab. In fact, let me grab a glue stick so we can put a point for you. Where the magic in this tab happens is you're concentrating your pull in the center. It's really going to flex up. Do you see how much flex you're getting out of that tab? Look at how much that metal's moving all around there right to that pinch. See that? You're going to take it off. Take your lifter off and take a peek around. So I can see that we've got great adhesion. We're still low there.
Yep.
So that means we can pull more. So go ahead and
I can also tell it moved because I end up having slack in here.
Exactly. Now, how's the power on that?
You can move a lot with this. It doesn't look like much, but it's got some serious power.
Right, the simple lever is a pretty simple, amazing simple tool. So obviously we know we've got a little bit of stretch.
Yep. We got still a little low on top there.
Yep. So I think we can probably pull a little bit more. So you probably have pulled up more slack. There you go. And just keep massaging it out. So what I like to teach is just like you're doing here. It's pull a little bit, check. Pull a little bit, check. Pull a little bit, check. Instead of feeling how much power you have here, you know what you could do if you just kept cranking and pulling and cranking and pulling until it released. You could
make yourself
destroy the panel.
Make yourself a whole lot more work.
Yes. So what are you thinking? Do you think we should?
That's getting pretty good. Where I almost want to take it off and look at
And
it.
see where you're at. That's exactly what I would do. Now, so we released the tabs earlier. We released all using just tension and the adhesive, or the tension and the release agent. On these tabs, because this outside doesn't really pull up, it's just to hold us there, these tabs can be a little bit trickier to get off. So instead of trying to release with just alcohol, I like to release with heat. And it's also a good teaching point here that sometimes these tabs stick, more power than you need. We don't want to just keep pulling and pulling until it comes off because we can end up over pulling the metal.
Sure.
So let's go ahead and release it with heat. So you're going to use your temp gun and your heat gun around 150 degrees.
Okay.
The glue will get gummy again and it will just break away right from the car without any additional damage.
Should I measure the temp right in the
Not right
crease
now.
again?
So we're just going to go right to, let's just warm that. You want to warm that whole tab area up to about 150 degrees.
Yep.
About 150?
175.
Perfect. Well, that's good. So what I'm doing here is we're switching your K-bar adapter to this one that has the pin. So if we come in close there, you can see that this adapter has a pin in it. That is the adapter we use for when we're popping onto one of the round-headed tabs. So go ahead and leverage off of up here. It's nice and strong. You just need a little bit of tension to likely pull that tab loose. Okay, they're not going to hurt anything. And then just nice and easy. Let's warm it up even a little bit more for you. I think it cooled down. That aluminum sucks the heat out so fast.
Yeah, it was already down under 140.
Yeah, it doesn't take long for aluminum to get rid of heat. There you go.
Nice.
Now we'll just let that cool down for just a second, and you can come right back in with your isopropyl and peel that glue away. But let's let it cool down before you start picking, or it'll just be, see, it's
A mess.
stringy again. Yeah, exactly. But that is the best way that we've found to release these bigger tabs. There's just so much surface area that they just hang on and hang on and hang on, and the alcohol just won't wick under, and we don't want to see it damage the panel. So just like so. Should be cooling down now. Yeah, go ahead and hit it with alcohol and start peeling her off. Also, the paintless guy in me just had a little mini, I'm like, oh, there's paint missing. Oh, wait, there was paint missing before we started.
Well, even though the paint was missing, it definitely stuck.
Absolutely. Good deal. I'll grab your towel for you and a little bit more alcohol. So in fact, it sucks so well. It almost looks like it may have divided that big shot into two, huh?
Into two, yeah.
So now we still want to make sure that we don't over pull that and stretch, because we can see just how deep that is. As a body tech, how close are you to where you're saying, hey, we got that to a fillable level. We don't want to turn it into a floppy panel and have a stretch. How close are we?
I would probably go a little more.
Go a little bit more?
Yeah.
Okay. So if we're going to go a little bit more, am I seeing it right that it's sort of up and down? We've got two
Yeah,
lows?
we've got a bigger low here and then a smaller one here.
Okay, so let's address the bigger low first. We're going to stick with those same tabs, but just like we did with TJ, we're going to move into a smaller tab coming down. It's going to be a pretty concentrated pull, kind of like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's give that a go. So the panel is clean. We just scrubbed it all down with alcohol, but we do want to check our temperature and see where we're at. Where do we want to be?
75 to 85.
And where are we at?
82.
82. So either warm it up a little bit or work really fast. It's your call.
I'll warm it a little since I got to warm the tab
All
anyway.
right, perfect. So go ahead and just a good shot. I'm sure that's plenty. Let's go warm the tab up. Good. And that should be good on the glue. And then get right centered in that lower dent. So what we're looking at here is we're over top of that scratch, right? We've come down to the smaller shaft to get in. Mm-hmm. What I think is helping us here is because we have these tabs with that face, we're actually able to reach out and still adhere or get adhesion to that shiny clear coat, right? I think that's part of where this magic is happening. So we need to let that cool down. Keep an eye on that with your temp gun. Now again, on these particular tabs, the dead center super tabs, because that center shaft is so thick, that does slow cooling down a little bit. It's just plastic by its nature is an insulator, so it's sort of insulating. Sure. But on the flip side, we've got aluminum trying to suck all that heat away from there.
Yep. 92.
92, so we're coming down, so just a few more seconds. Go ahead, and you might need to readjust your lifter because we had pulled so hard, so you can probably get that adjusted. Now we can also cheat this again. So are we in close? Yeah, we're in close. So what we can do with these feet, see how we're just off the tab? When we did the other one, we were sort of like using the feet to hold us in the game.
Sure.
Go ahead and take this off and then flip your feet around. So they will rotate around, and that closes that gap up just a little bit.
Oh,
We're not quite on the tab, but that is going to help us concentrate that pull in there even just a little bit more. How are we looking?
83.
Beautiful. I think 83 was your number last time. Must be lucky
I think it
83.
was. Must be.
So just
Give
ease
this a
into it
shot.
just like you were before. See how that just flexes and holds onto the panel? Probably can take your slack away so you're not burning up your leverage. That's okay. We're pulling hard, and this aluminum is a hard metal to pull, and we've come down significantly in our size of tab there. That's looking pretty good from here, isn't it?
It is.
So you want to do a pull on the top of that as well? So what I'm seeing is you got a ton of the depth out there. I see here a little bit.
A little bit. We could probably get that one a little bit more yet.
And then probably be about right. It might even just be the exact same tab you just used right back to that. Go ahead and hold it up, and you can always hold it up and check before you glue it on. Yeah, I think we're gonna be good. I like that.
Sounds
So
good.
right back to the top, so clean. If you got any residue on that tab, we wanna get rid of that residue. And then same thing, your temperature, run that up to 100 degrees or so, warm your tab up. And then warming the tab up will also make sure that there's no residual alcohol sitting on there. Where are we at?
77.
77. So we're coming down to the bottom of our range anyways.
Yep.
We would want to go ahead and heat up. Good. Very good.
104.
Beautiful. Now, we're working. Go ahead and keep working. I'll just talk through it. People sometimes get a little confused and think that they have to wait for everything to cool down to 85 degrees before they place the tab. You can place the tab at any point. In fact, on aluminum, we find that if you place it all together while it's all warm, you get a little bit more adhesion. That 75 to 85 is the temperature range we want to pull in. So we're going to stick with that same lifter.
Yeah, I think so. It worked good on the last one.
Keep an eye on that temperature, let it cool
Yep.
down.
Good and warm yet. 170.
170. Got a little hot, huh?
I guess so.
No, actually, you didn't get it too hot. That's actually the glue is coming out of the gun at, again, 350 degrees or so. We've worked more efficiently now, so we're getting to the panel faster, so we've got to let that heat come out of the glue into the aluminum and work through the tab. Make sense?
Yeah, perfect. Cools pretty quick. That's 120 already.
It really does. So we lost 50 degrees in a matter of 10 seconds.
Yeah.
So I'll talk a little bit more about production while we're here. Again, today we're in a teaching scenario, right? So I'm really trying to slow down and make sure we get all of our steps right. If I were working on this in the shop, right, that first pull was a pull here, and we restored that. But then we decided that, or really talked about, we broke it up into 3, and now at this point we've broken it up into 6 or 5. We had 3 points here.
Yep.
While this were setting up, if we weren't teaching, if it wasn't slowed down to talk, I would be setting tabs up here at the same time I'm setting this tab, so I don't have any downtime, right? All the time I hear technicians say, I don't want to wait for it I don't want to wait for it, I don't want to wait for it. In a production environment, you're actually not waiting for it. You just get to work, and go.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. But today, nice and slow and talking and walking you through it.
95.
All right.
Almost.
Getting real close. I think you're probably okay to start pulling. And I don't even know that we need or want a maximum pull because we don't want to overstretch it. We're just trying to get some of that depth out to get to a good fillerable, if that's a word, level.
Right. Yep. 83 again.
There we go. Lucky number 83.
Yep.
So we'll start easing into it. Yep. Now, see, I can see that I'm catching the reflection is starting to pinch up a little bit. I would not pull anymore. Any more pulling, we're just going to create more of a high spot.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Yep, totally.
So let's go ahead and release the tab. Now, this is small enough that we should be able to release with the alcohol. So go ahead and hit it with your alcohol and bring your lifter back over, and we're going to hold tension on it, and we should get a nice release there. There it went. Perfect. Now, I want to show, if we can get close in here, if we're not already, I want to sort of show you reading the glue. Now, this happened because the tab is just so strong and we sort of stress it out. But this is really a lot of times what you'll see when there is, we call it a cold pull. When you if you were to let the glue get too cold, you can actually break the glue away. So again, that's not what happened here. We had a super great pull. But just so you guys at home know, If you see your glue breaking and separating like that, hey, we weren't warm enough. And if you called me for tech support, I'm going to point you back and say, well, what was our temperature? Oh, we were 68. Well, you're too cold. So just a good visual of what a cold pull would look like. So how are we looking? I think we might be sitting just a little bit high.
Yeah, I think it might, right through here got a little high.
Yep. So we need to knock that down a little bit. So we talked earlier, if we can come over here and look at some of our tools on the cart. Much like choosing a lifter that matches, is bigger than your dent, and tabs that are shaped like it, we've got knockdown tools to knock down damage depending on the size of the damage. So just real quick, starting at the top, we've got our slappers, or slappies. These are essentially a dinging spoon, right? So on your, if this had not released, we would have laid this on the bottom and came in with a heavy body hammer and worked that out.
Sure.
Coming on down, we do have a weighted body hammer here. If you just need to feel more like just a regular body hammer,
Yeah.
but still respect the paint. You know, we've got protective caps on here. Coming down where I think I'm gonna lead you to, we've got more of a touch hammer. So feel how nice and light that is.
Oh yeah.
It's really got a nice feel to it.
Yep, it's real nice.
So this is a protective cover. This also is a mirror polished, we had a little bit of Cosmoline on there from shipping, but it's also a mirror polished face. I'm going to show the camera if I put it up. If we're dealing with a mirror polish, that actually won't affect the paint. It won't mark the paint at all. And you get a nice metal to metal strike. And then certainly coming down from there into our Black Swan. So this is a tool that was born out of the difficulty of trying to teach somebody to use a knockdown like a PDR tech would.
Okay.
Right? Inevitably, I try to show you how to do it, and you block it with your hand because you're trying to hold it steady and you can't see what you're doing. Then I tell you to move your fingers, and then you can't hold it straight. And it's a simple thing that just is difficult to learn. This takes that whole process and makes it go away. So this, and I think we're going to use that hammer with this face on it and this device to knock down. This has interchangeable tips. So we've got, this is called a pivot tip. So that's for knocking down a broad area. Coming over to the aluminum here, I think we're actually going to spin this off, and we have a polished metal face. You'll really get to see it when we get a close-up here. This metal to metal, we found really drives that aluminum the best. So you do have a thumb screw here, and you can move in and out to get it all squared away.
Sure.
We're going to use your light, and you want to be right on the top of the high and start bringing it down. Now, a warning to the body tech. You guys are a little bit more aggressive than we are. Just ease into this and start with lighter taps and build your way up. Does that make sense?
Yep.
All right, let's come on
Let's
over
give it a
and
shot
see
here.
what we can do. So you're going to use that. Yep, and you want to put that right in the palm of your hand, of your left hand. Yeah, there you go. And right down on the high spot. Yep. And then just start, it's light taps. You just want to slowly drive the metal in. Moving down for you?
Yeah.
Good. So that's got a nice feel to it. While you're there, let me give you this hammer just to, so you can get a little different feel on striking that with a slightly heavier head. So the difference, like you can actually see the shockwave in the whole panel.
That's nice.
And really, this part of it comes down to technician's choice. What are you most comfortable with? Looking pretty good.
Yeah, it's looking pretty good.
Now, you know, we're on aluminum, you're hitting it hard. If you moved over to TJ's quarter panel, don't strike it that hard, right? It's aluminum, we know is so much more difficult to move. That's the difference between here and there.
Right. Sounds good.
So where are we at? You think we're probably awful close to,
I think that
ready
one,
there?
That one's awful close.
Perfect. So I think we're probably okay on time. let's go ahead and move up here, and let's
All
just
right.
make a couple of moves before we wrap up to show you just how we continue to shrink this damage out. So if you look in your light, right, you should be able to see. I think we've got two pretty distinct impact points at the
Yeah.
top. It looks like.
We've got one here.
Yep.
And one here.
Exactly. So I think those are the spots that we want to address. So let's, we're coming to the end of the repair. Let's work it a little bit more like a production, and we'll do two tabs at the same time.
Sounds good. Now, what tab would you recommend for that spot?
So
This one's kind of round, kind of like what we were doing down here.
Yep.
But this one's a little bit, got a
got a
little
bit of a
length to
line.
it.
So round. So let's pick our two tabs first, and
Yeah.
you know what I mean. So round. Let's go right back to those dead center super tabs we were using, and find one that you think fits pretty well in that round dent. That looks pretty good.
Yeah. go
Yep.
with
So
that
let's
one.
pick that one, and then we've got a little bit of a crease. Let me take a peek in here and see. Oh, I see that running right here. So let's go to a crease-shaped tab, and we'll stick, because it is still a little bit deep, we'll stick with our original blue material. Let's see how that matches up there. Go ahead over
All
and
right.
give that a go.
I think that could work.
Think that'll work, or maybe even this one's a little bit shorter. See if that fits. There's a little bit of a curve to that. How's that?
That might be better.
That'd be better?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go with those two tabs.
All right.
So right back to the top.
Let's
Clean
get
the
this
panel.
clean.
Got it.
All right.
All right, so let's go ahead. So we cleaned it. Let's run our temperature up. Now we have not worked up here, so let's go to 120 again. Make sure there's
All right.
no humidity.
Where'd my temp gun
I'll
go?
find your temp gun.
Fall
Start
back
one.
inside there?
Oh, did it fall on the bed?
Might have.
No.
No.
I'll find it for you. Go ahead and get her warmed up. Yep.
Thank you.
How are we looking?
115, 120.
Perfect. So go ahead and warm your tabs. And we'll get these things glued up. So let's set the round tab first. That's the one that takes a little bit longer to set. Nice bead right in the middle, a little bit more. Good. There you go. I'll hold that in place for you. And now that's going to pull pretty precisely down the middle. So do your best to line that up centered in that crease as much as you can. So you might even need to stand up so you can see the line. Yep, and then same thing, just hold it in place for 10 or 15 seconds in that nice bed of glue. Good. Now, with our lifting device, we want to make sure we're outside of the dent. So we want to watch that we're not coming and holding this low spot in. So we need to think about a lifting device here to move those out. What are your thoughts?
Let's see. Well, we could try the K-bar.
You absolutely could. Yep.
I think I'd probably try that first just because
Okay.
it's easy
Yep.
to grab and try.
That's one of my go-to tools. So the adapter you want on that is that one we showed when we released that tab with heat with the little pin in it. Yep.
That's the guy.
That's the guy. And then while these are setting up, you can go ahead and pick your leverage point, where you want to hold on to.
Let's see.
Yeah, that's sort of what I was thinking.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty strong part of
Yep.
the panel there.
Agreed.
Other way.
There you go. And then I always use gravity to my favor here. I always just put that pin on top.
Ah,
Yeah. So that crease tab is likely ready to pull if you want to pull it first, and that'll give that extra insulation on that round tab another second to dry.
Okay.
Now you've got a ton of power here. You want to just ease into it. You do not need to, don't yank, it's not full send, it's ease into it. Remember, TJ was compressing the suspension on that Buick earlier. Just nice and easy. See how it's moving?
Yep.
Guys at home should really be able to see how well that's moving the panel out. So we moved that up some. And that's just a little 10 millimeter wide tab. That is not a big, huge tab. Pull that up. Now maybe jump to the other tab. And just try to work that whole area up some. You should be good with your leverage point, should still be fine. There you go. I think as long as you're up on that edge, you'll be all right. Yeah. So you've already shrunk that overall top to bottom like 50%. I'll switch back to the other tab. Just keep working back and forth. So sort of come off the tabs and let's assess where we're at. So we shrunk it, we were all the way down to here and we brought it up to here.
Yeah.
This looks pretty good. I don't know that I do anymore. This needs a little bit more, I think. Don't you?
Yep.
So what I might say is, because that is a crease, let's bring the heat gun in and release this pretty quick, and then come over to here with that crease feet to concentrate that pull in. We just need to get this tab out of our way. Up to here. This Okay, while that's cooling back down, let's pop our crease feet back on here. So you'll notice that we used heat to release that instead of the alcohol. The alcohol, especially that 99%, is such a strong release agent that we don't even want to get it close to this tab.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like almost like the fumes can get over there. So I'd rather just do this and then come in here.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
So give that a quick temp check. We should be good because I think we were only at like 91 degrees.
Yep. 88.
88, there you go. So you're good, go ahead and set up. And what we're doing here, again, because that aluminum is so difficult to move, is we're just using these feet to our advantage to hold that metal down and concentrate that pull right into the low spot and bring it up.
Oh yeah, that really moves it good.
Right, isn't that crazy how that holds
Yeah.
it down? And I'll go ahead and take your feet away so you can see how you're looking. We don't want to over pull. You can go a little bit more. You can still see that we're a little bit low. And take your slack out again so you're not wasting energy. Yep. See how well that holds? Isn't that crazy? Just that little tab. But it's because we're following that. We're using good tools, right? Good
Yep.
glue. The process is really what is driving that home. So I think we can probably release that and see where we're at.
Yeah, we might have to go to just a little bit smaller one.
Yep, exactly. So go ahead and soak that down with glue or with alcohol and put your lifter right back on. Go ahead. And she should release pretty quick. There it went. This off of here and give it a wipe down. Go. Go ahead and clean her off. That looks pretty good. So I think we're probably getting pretty close to a hard stop time. Jason, what do you think? Like, in a matter of, I don't know, a half a dozen, 6, 8 pulls, we got you to here.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on glue pull repair, especially as it relates to aluminum?
I'm impressed. You know, with conventional, you're usually having to heat it anyways. So it's not an extra step there.
Right?
Like I said before, I love that you can see what you're doing because of the reflections in the paint and stuff still,
Right?
you know, and it's strong.
Real
I mean,
strong.
it's
Like
strong.
surprisingly strong.
It's really strong, yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Jason, great job. I'm glad you were paying attention while I was coaching TJ through this morning. So, guys, thank you so much. We are going to hand it back over to the desk and wrap this up.
Well, thanks, guys. Great job. You know, the more I sit and watch and see the teaching there, the more impressed I am by this glue pull procedure. So, a lot of great stuff, a lot of great information. And at this point, I think we'll open it up for questions.
So I'm going to go to Jason here next. Got a question for you. You know, I know this was a new technology for you, and you got to work on the aluminum F-150 and pulling out that big dent in the side of there. You know, being somebody that's relatively new to iCar, but a technician before you came to iCar. What are your thoughts around this glue pull? I know it's new to you. What did you think of it?
My first thought right off the bat is I wish I would have had this 20 years ago when I was getting started and into straightening dents. I can see a huge advantage to using this over more conventional methods like weld-on dent repair. You know, you're not gonna do any damage to the backside of the panel while you're pulling it out. And from what I saw playing with it a little bit during this presentation is that the glue holds every bit as well as the steel weld-on tabs do.
Yeah, good point. And I would agree. I mean, I look at this stuff and think about all the years in the collision repair world and all the panels that are straightened and how much time this could potentially save. Not to mention the fact that we're not damaging the backside of the panel, the coatings and things when we're using glue pull repair. Jeff, question for you: is there any risk or concern of the alcohol with the heat gun and any type of fire or anything like that?
So, you know, it is well known that alcohol, certain concentrations, becomes flammable. And we'd certainly want to be very careful in using our heat gun around that type of product, that we don't, you know, create an undesirable situation. And I'm kind of curious, and I'm sure that you know, perhaps Chris can weigh in here if I'm off base, but you know, alcohol kind of burns invisibly, and you know, ultimately that, in my mind, would be something to keep in mind as you're working around these materials. You know, I also understand that everything that you all trained in the video, you know, you were respectful of the two different elements at play here. And I'll say, not dousing stuff in alcohol and then bringing the heat gun in there and hitting it. You know, pretty much at the point where you were heating the panel, it was clean and dry. There was no residues and vapors immediately present. So I, again, certainly open to any other thoughts on that, Chris.
Yeah, you know, in my mind, Jeff, we got this heated forced air. It'd be a very different story if a guy was using a torch, you know, and had an open flame. But
Yeah.
when we've got, you know, heated forced air from, you know, a foot or more away, you know, and again, if we're only, you know, heating it up just a bit, I can't see that reaching any sort of a flash point, because, you know, truly we're really only getting to 140, 150 degrees. But
Right.
and you know, so and again, the alcohol is really evaporating very quickly, you know, as you know, almost as soon as you put it down.
Right. We've seen some interesting things happen and heard about some interesting things that have happened out in the industry with various different chemical products, and you know, something as simple as a static discharge with alcohol-based products that you know, can turn into a bad day. So I would you know, certainly err on the side of caution as you're doing things like this. But your point's well taken. Keep the heat gun back, and if you're working in a well-ventilated area, that mitigates the risk.
Nice. So what about you, TJ? I know this was new to you as well, and being another former technician, what advantages do you see with the use of glue pull repair?
Definitely the advantages that I saw just in the short time using it is the speed at which you can get it ready for a final glaze coat to really improve proficiencies and get the job through the shop a little quicker.
Great. Great. Anything else that you think we ought to add to this, Chris? Anything, parting words that you would want to leave with somebody that's considering glue pull repair and maybe not jumped off into that pond yet, or even a technician that's using it, and some tips or tricks or anything you'd like to leave with them?
Yeah, thanks, Bud. I just want to compliment you folks on how this event went, and just what I would say the idea behind it, and the fact that we brought in definitely two technicians that are very experienced at metal moving, because at the end of the day, we at Keco we're teaching glue pull repair. We're not teaching body techs, how to become body techs. But once you know how to move metal and you know how to do your body work, then all it takes is a respect of the process. And so it's quite interesting to me that with TJ and Jason being brand new and never worked with our product, to have such great results, on both steel panels and aluminum panels. With obviously Gene's a great coach, but we have a very repeatable process and a system of tools and that allow for just the least invasive, best quality repair. So yeah, it's what I would say as far as really respecting our process. You can go to pulltopaint.com, and we have free instruction there with basically videos around our 6 C's. And so if a person has, call it, toyed around with glue pull repair and having some sort of a struggle, we've yet to find any problems that we can't troubleshoot with that basic process. So yeah, it's really the basic process. Respect that, and you're going to have great success. And that's what we saw today with TJ and Jason, respecting the process, implementing their knowledge of metal movement. And I think what they really enjoyed the most was the fact that, wow, I have a lot of surface area here with which to pull this damage, right? And so I have so much more control over the metal than I ever had with any sort of studs. And that's what I think is what people maybe forget, is that big dents go into panels with big surface area. So it just makes sense to pull them out with large surface area to have much more control, much more finesse over the metal, get it flatter quicker. And of course, it is the least invasive way to fix a dent. So yeah, it was just a fantastic event. Really, really thankful to be a part.
Thanks, Chris. We do have one more question. The question is, can technicians use their traditional body hammers with GPR? I know that you guys have some specific knockdown tools and things like that, but if a technician has that, we all have it, right? We all have that favorite hammer you want to use when you're working on these panels. Can a technician just use their conventional hammers when they're working with GPR?
Well, the answer to that, Bud, is yes. But I would say yes with caution, in the fact that, what our tools do, every one of you saw the tools that we have, and every one of them are either, if it's bare metal, it's a highly polished bare metal, so it respects that panel. We like to preach that our system takes the same vow that a doctor takes before he practices, that says, first, do no harm. And really all of our tabs, all of our lifting tools, and all of our knockdowns just don't damage the panel. And so when you're not marring that factory finish, you can just see so much better what you're doing. And so, you know, by all means, they can use that. But what's going to happen is they're going to cloud their vision if they're using a hammer that will, you know, I know they're going to paint it. I fully understand that they're going to paint it when they finish. But as they're repairing, if they can use the reflection in the OEM finish, then they're just going to get a much better result. Does that make sense?
It does. That does make a lot of sense. Thanks. All right. Well, with that, unless we have any other parting comments from the panel here, I'd just like to thank everybody again for joining us, and look forward to seeing you on the next version, the next installment of Repairers Room.